Hey everyone, it's Caleb and Elaine from KJ Productions. We're really stoked that you're back on our channel. And today we're going to be talking about raw footage.
Yeah, and why you as a bride definitely want it, and why you as a videographer should probably be offering it.
So, I don't like, what did we think about this? I think at the beginning of our company, we were so against raw footage.
For sure. The initial reason, I think, and it's actually, to be honest with you, it's kind of a vain one. Like, it was like, well, I don't want our clients seeing like our mistakes, or what if I say something crazy on camera? That became less of a concern as we matured in our business. And then it became, what was it? What kept us from offering raw footage other than that?
I think we were concerned that people were going to use it and it wasn't going to be
Yeah, that was one.
it wasn't our footage and they're using it in the wrong way.
Sure, but how often would something like that happen? Like, I feel like those stories are really rare. Like, I've heard some videographers say, like, have nightmare stories where later the couple decided that they were going to start a videography company and then they use their raw footage to like re-edit their film. I just don't see our clients ever doing that. And if they were to do that, like, that's what your contract is for.
And raw footage is so unwatchable.
Yes. In folders, yes.
Like, if you're thinking about like taking every single clip and shoving it on your iPhone and you have to click one and play it, and then think about the folder structure on your computers, you know how a folder breaks out. It's like, this is terrible. Like, this is the worst client experience. And for us, we're really about our client experience.
We used to say at the very beginning, knowing that, it's like, listen, if a moment happens, like, we're going to give it to you. Like, that was like our way to skirt out of raw footage, giving it. But there was something very key that happened to us personally that changed our entire opinion of raw footage. And it was when we created a film for my parents for their 50th wedding anniversary. Now, you may have seen this film. It's called The Love Story of Winston and Rose. And always, I've said this forever, like, if there was any wedding, whether it's fictional or real, past, present, future, that you could film, like, what would it be? My answer to that was always my parents. I just think they have an incredible love story. I marvel at the legacy that they have built, considering like where they came from. And so it's just always been a dream of mine. So when they were approaching their 50th anniversary, I felt like, man, I want to do a film about my parents' legacy and love story. So in many ways, that film fulfilled a dream of mine to like capture their wedding. Obviously, I couldn't capture their wedding, but I could at least capture part of their story. And so Caleb and I flew home to Colorado to spend time with my family. And while we were there, I asked my mom, I was like, hey, I just want like a bunch of old pictures from you from when you and dad were in grade school and high school, like when you're dating. And like, she goes like digging in the storage, crawl space, and comes back with this box. And we open the box and there's all these reels of Super 8mm footage, like all these tins. And I'm like, what the heck? So I go to my dad, I'm like, what is this stuff? And he's like, oh yeah, I bought a Super 8 camera when I was overseas, like serving during Vietnam.
And he was jealous of all of his friends because all his friends got 35mm still cameras.
He was like, oh man, when I bought that thing, I felt so foolish. Like, maybe I made a mistake. I should have bought the film camera. But it just so happens, here we are 50 years later, finding these cartridges. And I asked my dad, I was like, well, when was the last time you saw this stuff? He was like, probably 40 years ago. So naturally, we took all that footage with us back to Florida.
We stole all that footage.
Yeah, they actually didn't know we
sneaked it out because it was still on reel-to-reels. So we wanted to get it digitized as a gift. Whenever we sent it out, I don't think we had an idea of like how it was going to come back at us. It came in one timeline, one video file that we were like, wow, this is amazing. I don't know if we put too much thought about it on the front end,
On
but
the back end,
the back end, we
most
were like,
definitely.
it kind of blew our mind a little bit. So we edited this film. We
Yep.
got it out pretty quickly.
And on November 29th of 2018, my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, we shared this highlight film with them, which totally blew their mind. It was me, my two sisters, my brother-in-laws, and my nieces and nephews and my parents all in one house. And we watched the highlight film twice, cried a bunch. And then after that, we actually went back and watched all of the 8mm footage. Now, as Caleb said, this is footage like that spanned a decade. So it was over 3 hours of content, and we watched every single minute of it.
It was nuts. Like I remember your mom saying, she was like, how did you get these pictures to move? Like they were super confused as to how we had all this content. And it's just like, no, you had it. You just haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah.
But I remember a specific moment while we were watching. Elaine's grandfather had walked through the frame of the camera, and everybody in the room freaked out.
Just
And I was just like,
gasped.
what the heck is going on? Like,
It was wild. And like to put it into context, my grandfather passed when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So even I don't really know. I never got to know him, but my sisters and definitely my parents were just, I mean, we rewound that clip just to see his back walk into frame 3 times in a row. And it was at that moment I looked at Caleb and I said, wow, we're withholding stuff from our people, from our couples. As filmmakers, we have content like this that matters. It's stuff that holds tremendous value to these families. They may not realize it now, but we can offer that to them.
Yeah.
Why aren't we offering that to them? Our egos? Is that it? Let's fix that. And so that experience with our family, it changed everything. It
Yeah.
changed our whole perspective on what raw footage really is. And so from that, the very following month, we started offering what we call legacy footage, which is in essence raw footage. The only difference is that here at KEJ, we model it exactly off of how we received that Super 8 footage. So instead of our clients going through individual camera folders, which I always thought was like super janky, they get to watch all their raw footage in one single movie where it's all beautifully restored and colored, and there's audio there. That's actually one thing that's different from Super 8. So like our couples can know, you know, what they were listening to in their getting ready suite. So it has been like such an awesome thing to share with our clients, past, present, and even in the future, those that are opting to just order it because they know they're going to want it.
yeah. Yeah. Everything you just said. We hold on to footage forever, you know? And so whenever we were able to offer this to all of our brides, everyone started to jump on it. But some of the responses from raw footage from our clients has been amazing.
It's funny. So when we were first putting together legacy films, like it always drove back to that experience watching the footage. Like I remember the first couple ones that we delivered, Jordan, who edits with us, we all edit as a team collectively at KJ, but he was asking me, he was like, hey, you have like about 5 different angles of the bride getting her makeup done. Like, what's our philosophy on that? Do we just like share the one clip of her like getting her makeup done? And I turned to him and I said, all of them. Like, you put every single shot of that woman's face in there, because later on down the line, the first time I saw that footage of like my mother as a young mom, like a first time mom at like 22, 23, like I could not get enough. Like I could not get enough of that imagery of her. I was just like, oh my goodness, like every movement she made, it was just like, wow, I'm watching my mom, who I think is a superwoman, like figure it out as like a young 20-something. Like it was just priceless. And so now as filmmakers, when we approach that stuff, like I think about our dear friend Erica, who lost her mom, like, you know, suddenly. We delivered her legacy footage about a year prior to that occurring. And when her mom fell ill, I remember she sent us a message and she said, I knew this footage was valuable then. She's like, but you captured some of the last imagery of my mom dancing. Like, do you know how much she loved to dance and like the smile on her face during that? And I just thought like, wow, that's the hope we get to offer. Like, that's like, you know, that even in the midst of like my dear friend's grieving, that she looked at something we provided her and it was tremendous value and comfort to her. And they have that for the rest of their lives and for their children and nieces and nephews, cousins, everyone. And so do this.
Yeah.
If you're getting married, get it. Get this. It'll serve you in the long run. Please, like, don't skimp on that. That's something you should be investing in.
Yeah.
If you're a videographer, serve your client. Offer this. Get your ego out of the way. And please just step into this. I'm telling you, it'll like bring you as much joy to your company as it will to the people you're serving.
Yeah. I hope this video was thought-provoking, and at least make you consider, you know, these things that we're saying. And if you guys had any stories, if you have bought raw footage and you have any stories about like,
oh my gosh,
you
I
know,
wanna hear
those
them all.
moments,
I want to hear
drop them in the
all.
comments. Like, I'm just so happy that we get to talk about this today. So
Yeah, it was awesome.
like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.